Hi, I'm Paul Robichaux, Chief Technology Officer at Quadrotech. With me, I have Alan Byrne, Vice President in charge of product management and winner of this year's costume contest at our company party. How are you doing, Alan?
I'm very good, thanks. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for joining me. So we're going to talk today about email migration.
Absolutely, that's something we do very well.
It is. Let's start with this notion. I heard something from one of our product owners that I thought was really interesting. He was talking about how he talks to customers about upgrading their PST files. You know, for a long time we've had sort of this jihad against PST files and been telling people get rid of them, they're bad. What does it mean to upgrade them? Why would you even do that instead of just getting rid of them?
Well, I mean, email has been around forever. People have stored email in various different locations as technology's changed. In the old days, it was very, very expensive to have big mailboxes. These days, those problems don't exist anymore. So there are modern places you can put your email where you get a better functionality, a better experience than a PST file, which could get corrupted. You're sitting on some drive somewhere, so when you try and use a mobile device, you can't actually access any of that mail. So the way we look at it is we upgrade the user's experience. We take that mail, put it into a cloud service like Office 365 or a modern version of Exchange, and then they can access it through all these modern technologies, access it through different platforms that they couldn't do before.
But it's not just about the convenience for the end user, right? Because that data, when it's sitting on somebody's workstation or sitting in a file share, can't be audited, may have who knows what, credit card numbers or secret plans or other data that you don't want floating around uncontrolled. It may have data in it that would cause you to violate GDPR if it were lost. And you have no way to know any of that if it's sitting around in these uncontrolled repositories.
Exactly. Microsoft have spent a huge amount of money, effort, time to create a lot of compliance and security controls around where people's mail is stored. And unless you're putting your mail in there, you don't get to take advantage of any of that kind of thing, especially with some of the high-profile hacks that we've had lately. I mean, if I was a hacker, I'd be going for PST files because it's full of all kinds of treasure troves. People scan passports, people scan any kind of data and attach it to emails, send it around. You want to make sure that that's locked down, otherwise who knows how it could get out. And a lot of people, email is a very personal thing to people. When they don't have access to email, they can't do their job. So if something happens to a PST file that has last year's information that you need to access, you can't access it anymore, it's gone.
I know for a long time that was by far the most common question in the Outlook forums that the Outlook MVPs had to deal with was various ways that you could lose a PST file or have it damaged in some way. And oh my God, I have all my emails since 1998 in this one file that I don't have a backup of, and how do I fix it? So good point, taking that data and putting it under the protection of the cloud, if you will, putting it into that service where you know it's being backed up, it's subject to the compliance and control features that your organization has turned on. And knowing that it's being protected against that kind of loss is pretty significant value.
And it's not just PST files. You have the same problem with email archiving systems, the older ones such as Enterprise Vault. You can't access them from mobile devices a lot of the time or from other places other than your workstation. So the same problems apply to all different kinds of email. Email doesn't exist in a single location. It can be in a mailbox, it can be in a PST file, it can be in a public folder, it can be in archiving solutions. Now that Microsoft have basically made it unlimited storage for people with their archives that are automatically expanding.
Right.
It makes sense to just bring it all into the one place so that you can manage it more effectively and securely.
You said something interesting that I want to follow up on. It's worse with archiving solutions, isn't it? Because the whole reason that most organizations have those is because there's some legal requirement that they have it. They're in a regulated industry. I'm familiar with one customer that I worked with at a former employer that was under a Justice Department consent decree that said they had to keep their email for a certain period of time. In an environment like that, you can't afford to have an archiving system that you can't maintain or that isn't supported because it's so old. You have to do something with that data.
And also, a lot of the times, they're very different technologies managed by different teams in an organization. So one team manages the email servers, and then another team manages the archive servers. And so there's often a disconnect here. You need to get two people onto the same page to do a sort of change or anything like that. So absolutely, these legal reasons and these technical reasons all come together, and it makes sense to put it somewhere new.
Are we still stuck with the old style migration? I used to use the metaphor of moving house. And if you imagine that you're moving from, say, California to New York, while your belongings are in transit, you pack everything up at your house in California. Then while those things are on the truck, you don't have your toaster and you don't have your mattress and your family photos and whatnot. They're all in the truck. And then eventually the truck gets there, everything gets unpacked, everything is restored to the way that it was. That's sort of the old model where when your data is in flight, you can't do anything with it and you don't have normal service, if you will. Are we still stuck with that? Or are we
I don't think that today's users would take that anymore. They want everything to be always working, always on, and it's the same during a migration as well. So all of Quadrotech's products support some sort of sync and switch, or some sort of user can continue to work while we do the business of moving the data. And it's really, really important, because when you have a giant organization of 100,000 people, you don't want everyone ringing the help desk because they can't access their email because they didn't read the memo that they're going to be migrated on this particular day.
Well, they might not have been able to read it if it was in their email and they were on vacation or out busy doing something and for whatever reason missed it. Then next thing you know, their email didn't work anymore. You're right, that's not going to satisfy a lot of people.